Welcome to the Extra Time Podcast, where you'll hear sports stories you might not have heard about from people you might not have heard of. Let's get into this week's show.
G'day once again, everyone, and welcome back to the Extra Time Podcast. And as always, it just seems like it's clockwork at the moment. I'm in a Hawthorn jumper. Woods doesn't like it, complaining off air as really all the way up to when I just welcomed you in just then. But I'd never thought I'd say this, but it's just a normal occasion these days that Hawthorn get the wins on the board on the weekend. Another one spoiled Dustin Martin's big game. We'll discuss that later, Woods. Unfortunately, your Saints didn't quite get a win, but that's footy. I don't want to be wearing the jumper every week. I'd like to wear some different clothes, but I thought I'd change it up with the old legends from a couple of weeks ago today. We saw the Indigenous for the last couple of weeks, and, well, you breathe easy, mate, because next week I won't have it on because we have the bye this week, so we're not going to get a win.
You'll probably still find a way to win, though. That's the shit thing. You'll be the first team to get a win off the bye.
Well, we are in some pretty good form, so some could say that it's come at a bad time because it might kill momentum. I think hopefully just gives the lads a rest and we can go out hard against West Coast on the way out. But before we get to the footy, it's the new segment, This Is Why We Play, and I put it at the start because I think it's most important. We love our sport and we love the achievements, the stats and the results. But at the end of the day, we're all human, and I think highlighting something that's a little bit more than the sport or a little bit outside of it, a bit more human, a bit more real every week is something that we need to do, something I really love doing because it's the reason we talk about it. And we come in here every Wednesday and record these and talk about sport is because there's a human side behind it. So today... this week it was a little bit harder with trying to find things, but obviously if you watched the podcast last week, if you are a fan of Australian sport, you would have known that the Oz Swim Trials were on last week, into last weekend, and I thought this was perfect for this segment, and it is someone that I am actually a massive fan of. Not just because we went to the same high school, not because he's a Bass Coast boy as well as I am.
Does he live in the same court as you?
No. He's from Bass, I believe, which is a town about 20 minutes from Inverloch. But yes, both New Haven College alum. Pretty sure he even went to the same primary school as me. I might be wrong there though. I remember though every swim carnival, he was like a fish. And I speak of the man in the picture, Bowen Goff. And you say, I've already liked this. And it's not because of what he's achieved that he's on the segment today. It's because of his incredible perspective in his caption here. And take a moment to read it. Because it basically, what he's talking about here, if you've read this already or when you do and you're wanting a little bit of context, he is an absolute superstar, Bowen. He is, for his whole life, been electric in the pool. And he's basically one of the quickest athletes in the pool in his discipline, in the butterfly. Unfortunately, though, and this is, like he says in this quote, just the sport sometimes. He won the trial at up in Brisbane. So he won, he took it out, took the medal, yada, yada, yada. But unfortunately, he was a couple seconds off Olympic qualification, so he's not going to go to Paris for his event because you have to qualify. You can win. You can beat your Australian teammates, but if you don't make Olympic qualification time, it's just not good enough. But the reason I put this in, like I said before, is Bowen's perspective. It would be easily excused for a result like that to cause him to want to give up, not really post anything, not really talk to anybody, because poor fellas, you've been working for 4 years for an Olympic Games, and your whole life is dedicated to getting to that Olympic Games, especially if you're a swimmer. And you're an Australian swimmer. And unfortunately, he's not made it by a couple seconds. But instead of going down and getting all bogged down by it, he's come out and said, to be honest, like he says, if you go back and ask 10-year-old Bowen what it would be like to win races at Olympic trials, he'd be happy and there'd be a smile on his face. So the reason This Is Why We Play for this week is because that perspective is often lost in sport. And to have it is mature beyond his years, mature like a, 4-time Olympian, which obviously he isn't, but it's remarkable to see that sort of perspective. So congratulations, Bowen. And there was so many comments below this post congratulating him because it's a remarkable effort to win an Olympic trial at Australia's highest level. So congratulations for your achievement, but mostly for having that perspective, because that sort of thing inspires so many people, and that's the sort of thing that brings people not only to love Bowen, but to love Australian athletes and swimming as a sport. Just a born leader, and the maturity is remarkable. So congratulations, and this is what we played this week. A deserved choice, I believe. And hopefully we see Bowen in 2028 in LA. I know he'll be working towards that. But speaking of Oz, there is one big sport in Australia, and we cover it every week. And we are 13 rounds into this season now. 13 or 14 potentially.
I think we played round 14.
14 on the weekend.
Just going to have to confirm it. I mean, I work there, and I've...
Speaking of the AFL, of course.
But I think what you're talking about is some teams have only played 13 games, so I think you might be...
Yeah, some have got 2 byes, some have got 6.
Is it after,
it's all uneven.
Is it after this week or next week that it just evens out?
At one point, hopefully it evens out, maybe.
I think it's 2 weeks to go or 1 week to go. I'm just quickly checking up on that. So, yeah, after this week, it's even.
All right. So once we've cleared that up.
Round 15.
Round 14 on the weekend. A little bit of a recap. Obviously, a lot of things happened. A lot of very notable things. A lot of things that we could have put as the photo of the round. But I think it simply just has to be this or any photo of what happened following the Richmond and Hawthorn match. We'll talk about the match a little bit later because I'll talk about my Hawks and probably tug on the jersey a little bit, the jumper, whatever you want to call it. It was a great win. But more importantly, there was 93,000 people in our Coliseum for one man, which not many sports around the world can get, really, for one singular person's milestone. It's the man on the shoulders of his teammates here, Dustin Martin, game 300. I don't really need to talk much about it because if you know anything about AFL, if you're Australian and you're in the media, looking on social media or anything, you know about this. You know what happened. One of the greatest players of the modern era. And just those... If I was to give my thoughts on the round, that's obviously at the start. That's at the forefront. It was remarkable. I haven't quite seen anything like it. Usually you see it after a game. The winning team's best player might sort of go around waving, but usually there's a section, maybe 2 sections. You see it when someone retires. Dustin wasn't retiring, as we know of at this stage. There's been media that he is. Maybe that drew some people in. Might be the last time they get to see him, but he wasn't retiring. And not only that, the stadium was still full. There was still at least 85,000 after his team got flogged. He's gone round, waved to a full stadium. Not even his last game. It was incredible. And then, of course, there was an interview with him and his great mate, Jack Rewalt. And then there was this chair off. And then, 15 minutes later, finally we get an interview with the Hawks. So it was just mega. And I loved it, even though, we got no mention of the Hawks. I loved it because it's so unique. And it's such a unique part of our sport. And I absolutely loved it. So congratulations to Dustin. A lot of that's been covered, so we won't talk too much more about it. But a good win to the Hawks. But overall, like my thoughts, like old school footy, we had about 5 teams on the bye, so we only had half the games or a section of the games.
6 teams.
6. So we had 2/3 of the games we usually have, and in all of those games, they're all worth watching because it was high scoring. There was big bags of goals, and it was just eye catching. Every single game was worth sort of sticking in, tuning in and watching, even games that no one thought would have been at the start of them. And obviously we're talking about Collingwood and North Melbourne, probably the game of the round, could be game of the year. I don't want to jump on that bandwagon too early. But obviously it started on the Friday night, Woods, and Brisbane just escaped your Saints. We'll speak about the Saints a little bit later. You can go on give your thoughts on that. But it was great to see the Saints score big, almost take it at the end. And I love games like that. I've said this time and time again on the podcast. If it's on a Friday night, you're tuning in to watch, you want to be wanting to watch deep into the last quarter. You don't want the game won. I was scared because they did have a fair bit of a lead going into that fourth quarter, but the Saints really gave a lot. In the end, it was Brisbane's experience that got them over the line. The Saints with a big late charge late was exciting. Some of that experience, and we were talking about Dustin Martin just before, and how he was lauded as one of the best of the modern era. A lot of people were saying he was up there with obviously Gary Ablett Jr., Lance Franklin, and I saw this, which is Dane Zorko, some of that experience for Brisbane. And Nathan Buckley saying, should he be in the conversation? Now, that is obviously on the back of Zorko's, I think, 5 Brisbane best and fairest. A few achievements up there. I don't think he is in the conversation.
I don't think he's in the conversation, especially when you've got somebody like Lachie Neale at Brisbane as well. And I'm not discrediting, you're going to have 2 people from the same club. I think Joel Selwood, Gary Ablett, kind of in that discussion. But at the end of the day, he's not one of the people that come to mind when you think of best players of the modern era.
I think
I think there's a list in front of him.
He'd definitely be up there if you're talking about the Brisbane Lions. He's got a lot of achievements in club, for sure. And he's not really aging. This year has been one of his best. And he is into his 30s at the moment. So playing some great footy off half back now for the Lions. And like I said, they started the round out on Friday night. No more Thursday night games with the win over the Saints. Then, early Saturday afternoon, I didn't quite catch this one, but it didn't really need to. An absolute blowout the way of the Bulldogs at home.
You were that confident. You didn't even bloody watch it.
Well, I know that a certain fella by the name of Marcus Bontempelli, the man who is numero uno players in the competition, he is the best. He might not play on the best team. He might not get too much help, but he is the best. He absolutely tore them apart. He owns them. For some reason, all week, everyone in the media was saying Freo needed to go to work on Marcus Bontempelli because he tore them apart last time. They were lucky on that occasion. He's going to do it again. They didn't put any attention into him, and he tore them to shreds and kicked potentially the goal of the year. If you hadn't seen it, he was almost 3-on-1. 2-on-1, one on each side of him.
Was it better than Harley?
Kneed it, shinned it, grabbed it with one hand, flipped it over the right-hand shoulder. It's right up there with Harley Reid coming out of the middle. Very different goal, but it just showed that Marcus Bontempelli is
I missed
incredible.
all this game because I was at local footy as well, and we'll discuss that in the local footy. But I kept checking the scores, and I'm like, it's not really worth watching. Bulldogs W off right from the start almost. And
it's disappointing for Freo because it puts a dint in their road to a finals appearance, but it opens that finals series wide open now because there's teams all the way down to my Hawks and even Brisbane below Hawthorn at the moment. There's teams, I think maybe 4 or 5 teams on 28 points at the moment, just separated by percentage outs, and that trends from about 7th to 13th, and then Brisbane are just behind, but they are in form. So finals wide open. Something that's not wide open is the top spot. I think Sydney are basically locked and loaded. They'll be the minor premiers.
Well, they continue to show. I mean, you saw it against Geelong, and they were able just to fight back, and they did it again.
They were not in this game at all in Adelaide after Adelaide were ripped apart all week in the media, just torched. They needed to reply. They did. They were dominating. They were being aggressive. They were taking risks. And then all of a sudden, a fella by the name of Joel Amadi just decided he'll assert himself on the game. He didn't get a kick in the first quarter. Not one touch of the football in the first quarter. And then in the second, he's like, nah, you know what, boys? I'm just going to kick 4 in a row. And then in the third quarter, coming out of half-time, had a few lovely snakes and said, you know what, boys, I'll give you another 4. And then in the fourth quarter, off the back of Joel's performance, the Swans had roared back and got into a position where they couldn't lose because that's just how good they are. They can turn the game on its head in one quarter and go from 5 goals down to 5 goals up. He decided to kick another one. And then right when he was on he could feel 10. He could feel the deuce. He could feel it, the dime piece. He was like, I'm going to get 10. And Horse was like, oh, no, you're going to get 10 minutes on the bench. Benched him. No 10 for Joel, but that's just old school footy is back. Well, big bags of goals, big scores. I haven't seen someone kick 9 in a long time.
Talking about 10 goals, though, Sydney kicked 10 goals in a row before Adelaide kicked the last goal of the game, and they only kicked that one goal in the last quarter. That was it.
In garbage time.
But no, they kicked 10 goals in a row, and I'm trying to get this stat here. So they must have been 42 to 60 or something. I'm just looking at the stats here right now, 60 to 42, and then they just piled on a lazy 10 goals. So they've been able to get it. Yeah, it would have been about that just to put away the game. And Amadi, as you said, 9 goals, 1. Some good kicking is good football, and it definitely shows that if you can kick straight, you can get your side back in the game.
And there's been a lot of heat put on Horse for taking him off. I'd probably be the same. Couldn't believe it, but that probably shows the culture at Sydney. It's sort of not individual at all. It's nothing to do with that. That's how their midfield rolls. Everyone gets a lick. It's how the forward line rolls. A lot of people are saying, oh, they don't need Buddy. This guy was always there. Take from all of that what you want. It was remarkable. It was exciting. Old school footy. Big bag of 9 for Amadi. But their footy is just something, it's just very hard to explain at the moment how far ahead of everybody else they are. Can they keep it up is the only question. But somehow, that wasn't even the most exciting football game of the weekend. Because out of nowhere, we got a potential Game of the Year contender under the lid when North Melbourne started playing like prime North Melbourne from their last premiership.
Three factors into this game. So North Melbourne, number one, this is their celebration of 25 years since 99.
And they're all there, Woods, in the corporate box.
They should be there every week, but
hydrating themselves.
25 years since their last flag, and I'm working the game, and I'm there going, oh, shit, this score, can't believe it. And group chats are going off because of, hold on,
the whole country, outside of all of those that have no teeth and wear black and white, that's a joke, of course, was behind this team.
I don't condone
everybody.
His, blatant abuse to Collingwood.
Everybody that was watching this game, or not even might not have been watching, everybody was behind them.
I think everybody was cheering on North
because
Melbourne.
There is nothing better than a young team playing outside of their skins.
Yeah.
And George Wardlaw was incredible.
The only problem
Davey Juniak was incredible, and all of a sudden they'd found the way to move the football. They were backing each other, and they were absolutely pantsing Collingwood. And then our great mate Jai Thornell, we went through university with him, big North Melbourne supporter. From the first quarter, he said, I can't wait till they blow this. And blow this they did. A 54-point lead they had.
I disagree with blowing. I don't think they blew the lead.
How did they not?
They're a young side. They ran out of legs.
No, there's no excuses. That's all right. If you want to say the young side thing, that's fine. If you give up...
Who are you facing, though? Who are you facing? You're facing the reigning
Doesn't matter, mate.
Experience. You're facing a team that's experienced.
It doesn't matter. If you are 54 points up...
basically like this, right? They've just cast out the line and let the fish go streaming. And guess what? It runs out of legs, and then they're just going slowly.
Collingwood's team was young. Collingwood's team was one of the youngest they've had in 5 years.
Still, they've got the experience, they've got the knowledge, so they can come back from anywhere. They're not going, I
disagree. If you give up 54 points, it's one of the biggest comebacks this century, mate.
All it took was a few goals.
If you're 54 points up, I don't care if Collingwood were playing the Div 12 Rezzies. You can't lose from 54 points up. That is awful.
Nah,
it's awful, mate.
When you're... The problem is when you're a young side, inexperienced, you run out of,
So what happened when Hawthorn lost to Port Adelaide? No one was saying that. Oh, young and inexperienced. No one was saying that. Because at the same point, you can't give up a lead of more than 6 goals.
When North Melbourne were 54 points up, I said Collingwood will come back and will win this game.
Exactly.
And
that's what happened.
No, but that's
full credit to Collingwood. It's a remarkable thing to do.
All they needed to do. And then as soon as I said that, they've kicked a few goals, bang, they've got the sniff. North Melbourne kicked one back, Collingwood kicked 2. North Melbourne kicked 2, and then the floodgates opened for Collingwood. But it was a case of, hold on, you can't write Collingwood off if it was, I said, if Collingwood were playing a high side like Carlton or Sydney, Geelong, a side that was considered to be up there this year, they would not have stood a chance.
But the funny thing was, mate, it's not that their young players lost it for them. It was their older players that lost it for them. So the experience card can't be played. Because it was Zach Fisher that's played probably easily over 100 games with Carlton, you'd say. At least 50. He's one of their most experienced players. He's played for 4 or 5 years. He lost it. Zerha lost the game for them, made horrible decisions late.
No.
Larkey made bad decisions. So it's not the young guys. The young
guys
kept going. Wardlaw was there. He was still winning the footy at the end. David Juniak was still winning the footy.
They could still win footy, but they can't overrun.
I think they made bad decisions because it's not like they just got overrun and they never had a shot. They had the lead in the last quarter.
They had the lead in the last quarter, but as I'm saying,
So you should be winning that game. A lot of people have said...
I'm giving more credit to Collingwood than I am putting pressure on North Melbourne.
But you can't be giving them credit if you go, oh, but they just overran a young team. That's not credit. To me, I'd be giving Collingwood credit because to come back from 54 points down...
It was the expectation was there, though. I'm there going, okay, they actually did it. They've actually gone bang, 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 bang. North Melbourne, it's one of those things. You give up a 54-point lead. I've seen St Kilda did against Hawthorn in the 90s, early 2000s. I'm like, okay, you saw it coming. As soon as that, St Kilda overcame Western Bulldogs in 2016, I want to say, by about 55 points.
Same thing, yeah.
Same thing. But it was a case of that one was we had no... I mean, we were shit. We had no right to win it. It was around 2016. But, like, we just kicked a few goals, pegged our way back into it, and basically came from nowhere. This was... I'm there going, Collingwood aren't playing to their... Like, they weren't on when North Melbourne were on. And
North Melbourne were dominating.
And I was just saying, all Collingwood need to do is show up, turn up.
I disagree. They didn't have to just rock up and it was going to happen. They were 54 points down. I couldn't care less if it's the best team in the world.
What I'm saying is they've got to rock up, kick a few goals, get a sniff. They kick 2 goals and bang, their fans are up. They're going, we can do this.
They kicked multiple goals a few times.
Yeah, but I'm saying...
It wasn't until the fourth quarter when North Melbourne stopped dominating.
But how did they stop dominating? Collingwood actually turned up. Collingwood actually applied the pressure that they're known for to actually go, hold on, we're the reigning premiers, bang.
And North Melbourne knew they were going to come the whole time. So how did they not win that game? It's incredible. I think this should not be accepted by them as, we're a young side. It was going to happen. You're 54 points up.
I'm not saying North Melbourne have to accept. I'm saying
they should have expected to win that game.
North Melbourne
so they should have played with confidence the whole way through.
North Melbourne have to learn the lessons from this game.
They will, I know.
But I'm just saying, I'm there going, hold on, don't go too harsh on the young side. If they were a Carlton and they gave up a 54-point lead to Collingwood, hold on, there's something else in this. It's like Carlton came back to against Brisbane.
I don't care who you are.
I'm just going. It's the levels of.
There's no excuse for giving up a near 10-goal lead at halftime as well. So
I'll go the other way. There's no reason why Collingwood should have been in that position to begin with. There's no excuses, and I'm going.
Yeah, it's a remarkable effort for them to win the game. Yes,
Collingwood will be a lot harder. We should be going a lot harder at Collingwood. Well done for getting the win. However, why were you in that position?
No, I disagree with that.
Why?
Because
Collingwood were caught sleeping.
No, they actually weren't either. They were playing okay football in the first quarter, and then North Melbourne just played with the confidence that they wanted to win the game. And then all of a sudden, they didn't want to win the game at the end.
No, well, that's where I disagree. I think Collingwood...
It's not
the Collingwood we've seen in the last 24 months is a Collingwood that had they turned up from the first quarter, it would have been a lot different. I don't think North Melbourne... I'm not saying North Melbourne would have not been competitive. I'm just going, I don't think North Melbourne would have got up to the lead that they did. I think that it would have been a lot closer, and therefore Collingwood would have been able to get to a better lead. Noah Fisher was going Collingwood by 30. He was watching it with me, and I'm there going, nah, it'll be close. I think it'll be close. And
they are a great team, but I'm saying take out how good the teams are expected to be, all the stats and all the garbage before the game. Listen to me, and get up the stat. You won't be able to do it, but I'm just saying, as a general statement, teams with 54-point leads at halftime, how many win and how many lose?
Oh, the majority win, but
it would be 95% to 5%. So it's a 5% win to Collingwood. Congratulations.
Yeah, but
I'm saying it's like giving up a 3-1 lead in basketball.
Yes, go back to that stat, though. You've got to actually look into where they are on the ladder then.
You don't, though.
And if a team's top 4 and they're losing by 50 points to a team that's the bottom 4, what's that stat there? That is actually going to be something different. Or if a team like Collingwood...
It's a 54-point lead over anybody is a game you should win.
Yeah, but how many of those times has that
Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter who you're playing. It's a game you should win. Like, it's a lead in football where you go, oh, they're up by 10 goals. You can't be losing from here. It's only happened, and you could count it this century, it's only happened 10 times maybe.
But look at those circumstances. Like this, what I'm saying. How many times has a team
I'm saying it's more extraordinary to come back, and which means, on the other side of that, it's extraordinary to lose, and it's a massive choke job. It's a huge choke job. That's what it is.
Like, there's a lot of other factors when you go, you go the isolation of that, but I'm there going, look into those things. Where were the teams on the ladder? What were the side makeups like? Was it a case of look at the game? Look at the game for what it is. Don't just go, oh, no, teams shouldn't be doing this because of, hold on.
Well, Collingwood weren't in the top 4. They were a top 8 team, but they weren't top 4 going in.
Yep.
North Melbourne
bottom team. How many times does that
coming
occur?
off a win?
How many times does
where
that
a team came back against them, so they should have known that, and they did. Clarkson said, okay, we've worked on teams coming back at us when we've got the lead in the second half. So that happened again. So that's even more like less of an excuse. So you knew, mate, so you were planning for this, and you still let it happen. An almighty choke. But debate over.
Yeah.
A Mark of the Year contender was grabbed by Bobby Hill on his way to, I think, 4 or 5 goals, cementing himself as one of the best small forwards in the comp when his team needed it. Playing in a forward line with a lot of young guys. Kruger, a handful of games for him. You know, a few of the others. It didn't look like a normal Collingwood forward line. Myercheck's not there. DeGoey wasn't there. Penderbury was up in the stands. He stood up when they needed him, as did Nick Dacos, who was tagged for 3 quarters. And then his tagger was subbed off. Whether that was a good or bad decision, you can make that. That was the story. And then obviously the horrendous free kick instance at the end of the game with the 50, whether it was a 50 or not, and the holding the ball to Dacos. Everything was all wrapped into one at the end. But if you tuned out when we were arguing about what happened in this game, regardless, we can agree that it was the most exciting game I have watched this year. Definitely one of the best games of the year. It was electric.
It's up there.
It had the whole of Marvel Stadium pumping because obviously Collingwood was up and about, but so was North. Their supporters were finally getting really loud. And it wasn't only close, with Collingwood winning by a point in literally the last seconds, holding on in defence. It was 119 to 118. And I don't think I've ever quite witnessed that in the last 10 years in footy, because no one usually scores that much. If it's a close game, it might be, 65, 64, 85, 84 in the 90s. The goal kicking was stupendous. North kicked 19-4. I don't think they missed barely any set shots until the fourth quarter. Remarkable. Absolutely loved it. Beautiful way to start the Sunday, and then it was ruined because Port Adelaide and GWS, 2 teams wanting the top 4 finish, wanted to provide, and everyone thought, all right, great way to finish the Sunday. 2 contenders going at it. An absolute stinker. Would never, if someone even gave me $500, go back and watch that game. It was pretty awful. Kicking was putrid. So it was a win to the Giants, a win they really need. And Port Adelaide, still question marks there. But horrible way to end what was a remarkable round. And I say remarkable, and I'm not going to go on and on and on about them today. But my Hawks got another win, this time over the Tigers. And it's another game that we actually went in as favourites and expected to win, which is weird because I never thought I'd be saying that this year, that Hawthorn are going to expect to win a few games, especially at the start. It didn't start well though, and I will admit, when I heard my producer, obviously I was commentating myself, some local footy, heard our producer back in the studio say, oh, by the way, boys, Richmond and Hawthorn is underway and Dustin Martin's kicked the first from 50 metres out. I thought, okay, this might be very tough because 90,000 there. Tom Lynch was back, who's I've sat through 8 goals against when Tom Lynch was on against Hawthorn. It's not great. I thought the momentum's going to be all theirs. They're going to run over because they're going to be playing that, dynasty Richmond footy. Doesn't matter who's there. We're up and about. Fortunately, the Hawks just never wavered from their game plan, which basically since that Gold Coast loss and the Sydney loss has been the same. And it's exciting, and they back each other, and they just go, and they take risks. And Richmond couldn't go with us. The fight back was immense, obviously, after giving up that very early momentum the way of Dusty. And really keeping him really quiet was a massive win as well. Had a few players with Sis and a couple others going around playing on him there. But I just want to talk again about how Hawthorn's changed this year. Because after the first 4 games, I was thinking, all right, well, not many of my teams are going very well at the moment, and I think we're going to take a step back this year. And I was actually bracing myself to think, okay, if we win 3 games this year, we take a step back. That's fine. That's normal when you're rebuilding and your team's so young. We had a huge injury list, massive, so many key players on it as well. And then I was watching, the forward line, just like I said last week, ball come in, ball goes straight out because the tall forwards were too slow. Mabior Chol was giving no effort, and there was no, tackling and attacking pressure inside forward 50. Fast forward to now, Mabior has had the game of his life against one of his old sides. Run down gang tackling. I wish I could show you the highlight to set up goals. And I heard the call. I was listening to it on my way home, and one of the commentators said, Mabior Chol setting up his goal there with a run-down tackle. I'm not sure how many times we've been able to say that's ever happened. And full length at full pace diving, absolutely loved it. Especially after at the start of the season I was complaining so much about his effort. You cannot fault it. And I watched a Hawthorn vlog last week, and it was a day in the life of Dylan Moore from a couple of weeks back, and he was actually said, no one would really know, but Mabior Chol is our number one pressure forward at the moment, and that tells you everything you need to know. From where we've come from to where we are now is really unfathomable. I love the culture, like I've always been saying, the rat pack sort of thing, the rascal pack, whatever you want to call it. They're all, in your face, and they're all dangerous, and they, love to play with each other and excite with each other, and they're so happy for each other's success. I absolutely love it. But on the defensive side, which we haven't really talked about this year, they've been mega as well. And I was watching on the couch on Monday night, and they had one of their stats come up on Fox Footy, and Hawthorn's top 3 in 3 key defensive stats. I don't know if I ended up getting that photo, but it just shows from back to front, they've really gone to work, and they're really listening to everything that Sammy Mitchell's given them, and they've backed his game plan in. It is different, but I'm just so happy to be, the villains of all these team seasons.
I don't think you're necessarily... Oh, I was about to say, I don't think you're necessarily the villains. I think you're the underdogs.
Well, we were the villains on the weekend.
Even then, if you're not playing teams that, if you weren't playing St. I'm glad to see Hawthorn up and about.
Yeah.
They're one of those teams where you want to see them do well. You don't really want to see them win too many flags because they've done that. But they're there or thereabouts. They're doing well.
They are, and it's great to, mess up a few team seasons and try and fight for that 8. Whether we make it or not, I actually don't really mind, because
I reckon you'll be either just in or just missing.
The percentage isn't great because of the start of the season.
I see you winning about 5 to 7 games.
I just want them to keep playing exciting footy. That's all I can ask for. And all those plauds and, compliments that we've been getting lately, like the other day I was watching a video that SEN put up, and Jared Waitley has us ranked 2 in the comp right now in power rankings. And I was like, wow, this is really cool to get, especially after the way we started. But I'm not putting any expectations on because I'm not fussed. And it is easy to say that from my position because I've seen success and everything, but I'm just loving the football we're playing, and however long the journey takes for them to get back there, as long as they keep playing the same footy, I'm very, very happy. And I'm just happy watching them progress and change and transform. And obviously, off the back of that, my boy of the week can only be one man. It is Mabior Chol, a recruit from the Suns. His transformation this year has been second to none, and kicked another bag of goals on the weekend. He's finishing his work. He's putting in the work with his pressure, and you can see his passion. He might look casual. He might look like he sort of lopes around sometimes, but that's just the sort of operator he is. I love having him. James Sicily was monumental as well, and John Newcomb. But Marbs is my boy of the week, and hopefully he can keep kicking snags for the rest of the year. But a team that was kicking snags, for a change, Woods, was your Saints on Friday night.
Yeah, well, definitely for a change. And I've got no photo to show this week because I was almost giving up. They're going, always watch it to the end, but just had it on the monitor. And they're going, I've been saying for weeks, I don't care if we lose. I just want to be shown something. Like, this year's obviously not our year. We're a few years away. Grant that. I want to be able to see the puzzle pieces falling down in the right way. I want to feel like Hawthorn is. You might not necessarily win all the games, but you're exciting to watch. Now, obviously, with Rossline and the way he coaches, it's a defensive shutdown game. Accept that. However, you don't win games and you don't show promise if you're not kicking goals. You don't win games, obviously. You're not going to be the attraction for other players to come into the club. It was one of those things to finally see us kicking goals. 1 quarter of footy. But we need to be doing that more and more. 4 quarters of footy. Being able to transition, hit the scoreboard, and just be able to win games of footy. But that, as I said, that's the long-term goal. Right now, show me the excitement. If we're scoring 106 and losing every week, okay, not so great. Defense isn't working. But I'm not saying, okay, we need to score 100 each week. I'm just saying, okay, let's not score 7 goals and win a game of footy. 49 points and win a game of footy and be something that we're proud of when 7 goals. Like,
It's a slugfest.
North Melbourne kicked 7 goals in 1 quarter. That's saying against Collingwood. So, like, that was one of the points I'm saying. It's like, okay, North Melbourne were able just to catch Collingwood off guard. St Kilda, we were able to catch Brisbane off guard in that last quarter, get within 7 points, had a sniff of it. It wasn't to be, but we were there. It was close. It was exciting. That's what I want. I want excitement. I don't want to see boring footy and it's like, oh, as soon as the floodgates open for the opposition, we don't have a plan B. We don't have that.
Because you can't go with them.
Yeah. But it's like, okay, it was good to see that we were able to regroup eventually and actually go with them. We were able to find something. We were able to play it our different way because it wasn't our way, because our way is shut down footy and we struggle to score.
I think in 2024, you do have to have that balance. I think Ross was successful with it in years gone by, but I think these days the game is, particularly on the weekend,
the game's evolved.
It's both sides of the football, and the Saints are phenomenal and always have been defensively, but like you said, on the weekend it was huge. Loved it. It was an old school game as well. It was a shoot-off. Joe Danaher kicked 5, Jack Higgins kicked 5, and then there was a few that kicked 3.
As I said, the game has evolved so much so that you need to be able to have something extra. You can't just go...
You need a couple
We're
gears.
going to rely on our offense or we're going to rely on our defense. You need to be able to do both, and if you're defense, you need to be able to transition. You need to be able to have the entering into forward 50s like on par with the rest of the competition, and we aren't able to do that most of the time. So it was good to see we actually hit the scoreboard.
Yes, it's very important to hit the scoreboard and then hit it well. And some teams that weren't hitting it well, and I speak of bad kicking is bad football, weren't playing great football, and I'm just going to put this whole game, Sunday afternoon, the whole game for me gets the win. Both teams, all players, all 44, all 46. How many bloody blokes were out there at NG Stadium? It was putrid. And I actually had the game on, and I don't usually do this, but I actually completely tuned out. I stopped watching and I stopped listening because...
What was the total for the game?
So just for those that weren't watching, and a lot of the time people might think, oh, you just rock up and you just look at the numbers and you don't actually watch like what happened. This wasn't even rush behinds. This wasn't on the line, just missing. These were genuine kicking mistakes. 9-19 for the Giants. Somehow they won. And 6-15 for Port Adelaide. It's just disgusting. And it's like, especially after even the game before when North Melbourne kicked 19-4. I know that's under the lid. But there was no weather. It was cold and it was a little bit dewy up in Sydney, but there was no real weather or wind to deter this. And like I said, half of them weren't rushed. It was just bad kicking.
I think that's just a game to move on from for me. Because
and Port Adelaide, seriously, one more time, and I'm just going to about descend you from the competition. Richmond could have been there as well, but they were playing an elite defence that is the Hawks, and it was Dusty's 300. So I'll leave them out. I'll give it to these two because they deserve it. Not speak any more of it. The game of the round, Woods, I think we can agree, Pies and Roos, although the Saints were good and exciting to watch. The Swans
It has
and
to be
Adelaide could have been close, wasn't.
North Collingwood. I mean, just the debate we had from
Could
that.
be the game of the year as well.
Could be. There's a few contenders, but as I said, North Melbourne, Collingwood. Just the debate we've had from that. I think it's definitely up there with the game of the week
And
contenders.
the Pies did get that win, which pushes them into the top 4. And one step closer to back-to-back as we look at who can and can't win the flag. And it's very interesting because I think if there's one team you either put one on or move, it's the Brisbane Lions because out of nowhere, they've got healthy. They get Will Ashcroft back soon. They've got a lot of ground to cover to just make the finals.
So are you gonna move them or?
But I'm not going to. But they are very close. It's very interesting.
You're leaving it as is?
I'd love to put one on Port Adelaide because they continue to disappoint me and they just don't beat good teams. They just don't.
So you're leaving that as is?
But they're still in the 8 at the moment. They're hanging on. And like I said with Brisbane, they're directly one whole win behind Freo in 8th at the moment. And there's 4 teams above them on 28. So it's all to play for there. I'm not making any changes. I want one more week to decide here. But Port Adelaide are on X-Watch and Brisbane.
As we had the same. I've actually changed mine now. You can't notice the change. But I've got to Port Adelaide. Too many chances, 6-15.
It's like they don't care.
If you're going to be contending, you have to be doing something better than that. So.
Put it this way. You know when even Kane Corns is ripping shreds off Port Adelaide, they're not going very well.
Yep.
And that's what he did. He just said they don't care.
I mean, that's all I want to talk about this. But talking about a team that's still doing well, Sydney, they are the AFL heavyweight champions. Once again,
if you're a Swans fan, seriously, get your tickets to the SCG because that qualifying final, the first one, will be at the SCG. They're just going to finish on top.
Just get your grand final tickets sorted out now. I know no fish out.
I want to go that far because finals is a different beast, but they've got the belt at the moment.
Well, they've had the finals experience, and I just reckon Noah Fisher. I just wanted to bring him up. He made the decision to go. I'll go overseas during the finals.
He has got commitments over in Pommy land, so all the best to him. But he'll have to be watching in the early hours of the morning if they are to make that granny. But
moving on back to this, it's GWS
huge matchup.
Battle of the Bridge. Now, it is an NG
the second instalment this year, yes.
Now, I always ask the question, do you know what bridge they're battling over?
Oh, it'd be a bridge between them, you'd think, wouldn't you?
I'm pretty sure if you Google it, it's the Anzac Bridge. So it's not the famed Sydney Harbour Bridge. I'm pretty sure it is the Anzac Bridge, which I would have no idea on what it is significant of, but just thought I'd throw that little tidbit out there.
But a battle it is, and the Swans got the job done by 29 points last time at home. But the Giants, although they played very, very ugly on the weekend, it did look a little bit tsunami-like. So this is a massive game this weekend at NG Stadium. Which is good for the Giants. They've got a string of home games coming the back end of the year. And again, as they always do, the AFL have whacked it in the worst time slot imaginable at 4:35 on Saturday afternoon. No idea why that couldn't be flexed out to prime time. Either way, that's a discussion for another day. The Swans have the belt. They play football that is just untouchable at the moment.
But I think this could be a challenge.
It's probably
another team in the 8.
The closest they've had in a couple of weeks, for sure.
Very interesting, but it's just one of the games in round 15 as I look through them. We've got Carlton Geelong to open it on the Friday night.
The second instalment of that this year as well.
We've got Port Adelaide, Brisbane Saturday at 1:45, and that could be a belter. And I see Brisbane winning that. I've put the red X on Port Adelaide. I don't trust them. There we go. We got Melbourne, North Melbourne. Now Melbourne have slid a bit, so this is a chance for North Melbourne.
And they don't have number 5 playing, so
if they pick up their form like they've been doing. Who knows what could happen? Essendon, West Coast.
Hopefully my man Hutch gets another gig. I might even go down to watch that one as well. That's at Marvel at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
And then Fremantle, Gold Coast to end the week.
And guess what this is? Out of the bye. Exactly what Gold Coast would want. An away game, Woods, against Freo who need a win.
Can they do it?
Can they finally do it? Or can they keep what I want them to keep going and go perfect on the perfect at home and imperfect on the road?
Now,
never seen that.
Just to ensure we cover the teams that have the bye, Adelaide, Collingwood, Western Bulldogs, Hawthorn and St Kilda, so we won't be wearing our colours next week, and then Richmond. So plenty to look forward to after this round, obviously, as we mentioned earlier. all teams will have 14 games. They will have played 14 games, obviously, with opening round. Those teams getting a second bye. Hopefully, in the future, you might see the variation of teams if opening round stays. You might get a Hawthorn and St Kilda, and you just rotate those teams to ensure a bit of fairness. I don't know. We'll wait and see on that one. But after this game, it'll be a lot easier to see where teams are because everybody will have played the same amount of games, and we'll be able to go, okay, well, who've people got coming up? It's a lot easier to kind of
predict what's going to happen.
Predict the ladder and move the magnets around and write down your thoughts on who will win what. But it looks to be a very interesting second half. As we said, Sydney look to be the clear front runner right now, but there are a few teams on the trail. Carlton, Collingwood, people don't know where they're at. Essendon are coming out. I mean, they've started off strong. Can they keep it up? And is there any other teams that you see that could actually make it in challenge that haven't been there for a few years?
Yeah, probably the ones that trying to sneak into that 8 for me, and that could. Brisbane, bit of a sleeping giant, but they've got a lot to do. Like I said before, the Dogs just never know. You literally just never know, but they do have the best player in the comp. So if you've got the best player in the comp, you've always got a chance. The Suns, plain and simple, just need to win on the road if they're any chance. We'd love to say the Hawks, but whether we do or not, I'm not fussed. But there is a team that I do, and I am fussed about winning. And I'm talking about the Australian cricket team. And we're just, right now, as we speak, having a little breather because the initial pool games have been completed. We've got a couple days, and then the Super 8s are into action. So basically, because of the emergence of T20 cricket, I expect there's an extra sort of bout of games in this T20 World Cup. So we had the pool games, and now we've just got how usually everyone expects it to go. So there's 2 pools. The top 2 from those pools, after they've played everyone in their pool,
this is how
goes to the semis.
I'm pretty sure this is how they used to do it at World Cups. They
So
had
we-
the initial pools, and then they had the Super 8s.
Yep.
I love it.
We got through by the skin of our teeth, really, against Scotland. And we did finish on top of our pool, so we go into...
Undefeated?
Undefeated, of course. Well, we are 13 games undefeated, if you don't mind, in World Cup action dating back to the ODI World Cup, in which we went 0-2 and then went undefeated to the title. And we are into Group 1 in a Super 8. So we've got Bangladesh, Afghanistan and India. So a bit of a all-Australasian.
We need to win 2 of them, I believe, to ensure we go up, don't we?
And there have been a few washouts.
Not to ensure, because, I mean, there could be other 2-game winners. So this is where net run rate comes into it. Does the run rate actually transfer, or does it start from scratch?
Everything's at zeros as I look at the
Okay.
standings right now. So we have, I think, Bangladesh first, Afghanistan and India. So basically, you beat them all. You're all good.
Yep.
If you finish in second, obviously you play the team in first in the other pool. So always good to finish on top. Make sure you get, if there's any, a bit of an advantage there. We've got a bit of new leadership, though, which I wanted to discuss. It's different. Obviously, Pat Cummins has brought us so much success, but they decided to go with the Bison in the T20 format from now on, and I absolutely love it because this fella just exudes leadership in a different way that's really refreshing, and he is like the T20 format. He's fun. He's a bit different. He's a little bit more laid back, not as serious in a way, but he'll still go out and smack you. Like, he'll still provide and he'll still bring success. And I thought this quote was great as George was comparing them, and he said, you know, Mitch is just sort of someone who's more personable to a lot of these players. And what he's been through, his rise is, we've talked about it for ages. It's incredible. Like, Pat hasn't quite gone through that.
I think he's been chastised as well, and he's been one of the whipping boys of the Australian cricket team from the public. So it's been great to actually see him go from strength to strength.
And he is someone, I think, who hasn't had an amazing tournament so far, but I think he and Glenn Maxwell, if they get going, I don't know how anyone beats us, honestly, because bat and ball, they're both phenomenal, and we're in a great position now. 3-0, obviously defeated Namibia, Oman, England, which was great, always great to beat the Poms, and then, like I said before, just snuck through against Scotland, which if we had lost that game, there was a lot of media around whether we were going to throw that game or no, we lost it sort of thing. England would not have gone through to the Super 8s. We were able to get that win thanks again to a man called Marcus Stoinis, a man who wasn't even going to be in the squad a couple of months ago. Smashed another great score. I think he had another 50 player of the match performance from the Stoin. And he got us through alongside Travis Head. So the two in our top 5 who you're not always probably thinking are going to have the big game, because Mitch Marsh and Glenn Maxwell are in there. But Warner, Marsh and Maxwell only really combined for about 22 runs. And then Travis Head thought, no, we can do this. How about we win this game? 68 for him, 59 for the Stoin. And we got that job done against Scotland. So England do go through in the other group. We go through in ours.
I've got to say, before we move on with this, the teams that actually qualified, having a look at it, you got some cricketing nations and you don't, and I love it, all the talk, because it's in the West Indies and the USA. Well, USA, how good has that been to see them kind of come out of nowhere? India as well in Group A. Australia and England, as you said. We've got West Indies and Afghanistan. Now, New Zealand don't qualify in that. It's great for cricket to see teams that aren't the test-playing nations.
Afghanistan, their rise has been meteoric, really.
Yeah.
Especially in this format, but in the one-day format as well, they gave us a real go.
It's good to see these countries just coming out there. And
it's great to see the West Indies back on their home deck, playing in a World Cup after they didn't qualify for the one-day one.
In the group stage as well on that.
Maybe it's that, home deck advantage, home deck, good aura or good luck sort of stuff. It's great to see them. And I think they'll be really dangerous if we are to meet them in the semi. Yeah. We're wishful thinking that we're going to get there. We've got to win first.
D.
But they're there, and they've a couple scores of 200 at the moment, the West Indies. So they're a massive team to beat. But we keep our streak alive. Obviously, like Wood said, England, South Africa, USA and the West Indies in Group 2. Us, Afghanistan, Bangladesh and India in Group 1 for the Super 8s, which kick off later this week. And you speak of the US, they defeated Pakistan.
I love this because of...
And I saw a bit of a meme tweet.
I think we both saw this, and before you go into this, I just want to say, all the talk, I've followed it, there's been a lot of talk, and one of the talk, before we get into this actual tweet, because I love it, was about the sense of they're a baseball nation. They won't
like it. They're not going to get it.
Yeah, they're not going to. No,
it's not going to pop off.
No, it wasn't that. There was more so. Hitting sixes are too easy. In baseball, it's basically to hit a home run is the pinnacle, and just to see people just hitting sixes. It's too easy. No, and then as you did, I came across this tweet as well. And I'm just saying, I absolutely had the best laugh at it.
They've got 8 or 10 different sports that they got to follow over there, so we'll give them a little bit of credit. But not all Americans really understand. So someone's come out and said, what the flaming is this scoring system? What does it even mean? And someone's like, all right, well, I'll give these Americans something they'll understand. And I just think this is hilarious humour. It's poking a little bit of fun, but it's in jest. So basically the US, and this is explaining the scorecard, which to all cricket people is 2 for 33 India, 8 for 110 US. The US ate 110 burgers in 20 minutes and 8 guys passed out. India has eaten 33 burgers and 2 guys have passed out in 6 minutes. The max duration is 20, and if more than 10 guys vomit, it's game over. India must reach 111 burgers in 14 remaining minutes with 8 guys left. And I actually think not only is it a ripper joke, but it is perfect, because if you actually told any American that, they'd be like, oh, yeah, I get it. I get it, which is hilarious. So I thought that was funny. But back to basically the task at hand, we've got to get the job done. Obviously, the biggest game for us in that Super 8s is India, who are, for mine, I think we picked at the start of the tournament as well, the team to beat, coming out of the back of the IPL. They've got basically a perfect lineup. And I know we said this in the ODI World Cup, but that's going to be a huge game. But we know what happened last time.
Well, right now there are 4 teams undefeated. So before any of the pool games go on, and I think they will have been played by some of this episode comes out, so it might have changed. But India have played 3, won 3. Obviously, one was a no result against, I'm not sure who it was because...
Yeah, there's a few washouts in and around there. But
Australia 4-0, West Indies 4-0, South Africa 4-0. So we've got an amazing contest, and if you're to pick a winner, you might go there or you might go the roughie. I mean, you've got USA, England, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh just there to cause an upset. And who knows, they could be the ones holding the trophy at the end.
It's crazy.
Hopefully it's Australia, though, and we continue our undefeated streak and more importantly, our finals undefeated streak.
It's hilarious because they are the reigning champs in this format. But out of all those teams in the other pool, if we are to make it through, you'd probably want to play England because you just don't know what you're going to get from the US. They're on their home turf. Same with the West Indies, and then obviously South Africa, of course, is trouble. But we play Bangladesh as our first match of the Super 8s, and that is the 21st of June at 10:30. Beautiful time slot there, right in the morning. Catch that on Prime. Overseas again, and the French Open has wrapped up, but there's some news in the sport of tennis, and I speak of the Demon himself, who has become the first man since Leighton Hewitt in, I think, 2006 to be ranked inside the top 10 in the world of tennis. So he is now 7. He's taken over a few names there, Casper Ruud and Dimitrov, after a great effort at the French Open. And congratulations to Yannick Sinner as well, Italian.
It's also good to see that, this truly is the next generation of tennis. It's been a long time coming. You still have Djokovic there. It's third as part of the old guard, but no Nadal and no Federer.
It's interesting with Raf. He's obviously come out recently and said, I won't be playing at Wimbledon because I want to focus on the Olympics. And that's another huge thing, which you don't have often, obviously every 4 years. You don't have it on the tour. So for Alex to go into Wimbledon, a top 10 seed, and then the Olympics, which I'm sure he'd represent the green and gold, a top 10 seed as well, is massive. So huge in the world of tennis. You might see a few sort of take the Rafa route if they are a bit sore. Because Wimbledon comes around every year, but the Olympics doesn't, and that gold medal is only going to be won by one man. So hopefully the Demon can continue his momentum back on the shores of Australia, and for once in not very often, State of Origin.
Every few years.
Yes, rugby league will be played in Melbourne, not at Amy, at the MCG, and we'll be there in 1 week's time.
Yeah, we will be. Now, one of the questions that has been sparked every time is, what are your thoughts on the neutral territory game? And I'm going to beg the question to you. Are you a fan of it? Are you not? Are you glad to see it? As a non-rugby league fan, I'm interested to know.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I'm not actually sure why it's the second game. I feel like it should be the third because how good would... I'm not sure if it's happened before recently or not. I think it might have. My memory's not great, but imagine the teams being... Just for the fact that there's a possibility the teams could be 1-1 going to a neutral venue would be huge. And I think the fact that it's one of the biggest series in any sport in the country, you have to, even if like they do it, if it's only a few years, you have to be playing it every now and then at the biggest stadium in the country.
Well,
you just
I
have
actually think that my suggestion would be, as you said, you'd have games 1 and 2 and you alternate those each year. So 1 year...
I do understand that it does throw it out a little bit because they alternate, who's got the home ground for 2 games. But
my suggestion right now, I'm going to basically eliminate that altogether.
Okay.
So all you do is you alternate the first game. So this year it was New South Wales. Next year will be Queensland. Second game, it's the other one. And then the third one, you alternate between Adelaide, Perth and Melbourne.
They had it in Adelaide last year, didn't they? And it worked beautifully.
They've had it in Perth.
And the three big southern stadiums are huge.
If you have it every 3 years and you just rotate them, guess what? It's a neutral thing. You're going to spread the game. You're going to build the game up. And if every year you're going, 3 years' time, every 3 years, you can guarantee a game in Melbourne. Every 3 years, it's Adelaide. Every 3 years, it's Perth. And it's just rotated. Guess what? Those game threes, especially the ones that are 1-1, you're going to be building the game up so much. And there's been talk about a Perth team. I wouldn't be surprised if Adelaide continue. It might be an Adelaide team getting because of... Hold on. Yes, New South Wales and Queensland is big and it's great. But if you're building it like this, and I'm hoping for a Queensland victory, but I'm hoping for a closer game, and I'm hoping for a game with, say, 90,000 fans. You see the maroon, you see the blue. I was lucky enough to be actually going to the rooms before a game. It might have been last time it was at the G actually, and I'll chuck a photo up or not. I don't have it on my laptop, so I can't show it. But it was actually got to go into the room, see what it was all like. You got to experience it, and then you got to walk onto the ground, get a photo on the ground, and it's just empty stadium, but then a few hours later, there was 90,000 people there, and you really got a sense of, holy, it's like, and just imagine what it's like before a grand final or something like that. It's two teams that a lot of history, and I wish AFL could do it, but I think the difference between AFL and NRL or rugby league is the fact that you go on to represent Australia. So this is basically the in-between of, if you're representing either Queensland or New South Wales, you're one step closer to representing your country. AFL, you don't have that. There's no representation of the country from that AFL level. So as changing the topic slightly to the state of origin debate, I think that's the biggest reason not to actually have state of origin in AFL, is there's no actual need for it.
And there's
beyond,
no, how do you say it?
beyond
Nothing on the line.
Yeah, no, well, there's nothing on the line. Like, these guys are the creme de la creme, the best of the things, and they're basically showcasing themselves to, hey, like, get a spot at the Rugby League World Cup, which Paul Gallen was on the radio and he was like, what was bigger? State of Origin, Rugby League World Cup, or Premiership? And he obviously rated them as Premiership first, obviously, then State of Origin, and then Rugby League World Cup. So it just goes to show that it's like, yes, the Rugby League World Cup is a big deal, and like they take full on like going for it, but State of Origin and a club premiership are held higher because of it's that type of game.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe with that neutral venue, they've been over there already. You might be one in Vegas. Who knows, where anything could take them. But somewhere which will take a lot of people this week, and I know a few people from Rainmaker who will be going up there to help produce it, is the Oz Open Bowls. It's massive, and if you don't know, it is one of the best events on the calendar, as we discussed last week. Anyone can enter, but even people that aren't participating, it is a great spectator sport, and the facilities up on the Gold Coast are phenomenal as well. And the broadcast, I know a few blokes going up there to do it, will be sensational as well.
Well, it's coming to an end, and by the time that this comes out, it will be, I think, 1 day to go, 2 days to go. I think it ends on Friday. As we look at the date, June 8 to 21st. So it'll end on Friday. This comes out Thursday. There'll be a few finals being played, and there's a few big names still in it, but I don't know if they'll be in it by the time the podcast comes out, so I can't really say who they're. But my pick for... you can't go past Aaron Sheriff and Kelsey Cottrell. They might still be in it. They might not be. But those will be my pick for the big singles events. And obviously pairs, triples, pairs and fours. There's no triples, but the pairs and fours, it's a lot different. You can't really go... I'll have to actually study the form a bit. But no, it's a big event. And once again, I think Queensland have done it well, showcasing the greens and the clubs around that area. It's not just played at one club. They go around the Gold Coast area, and all the finals are in one place, but it's great to see, and hopefully, yeah, we get really good games, and next week we'll have a bit of a wrap. We'll say who won what events, but up until that point, there was another, I think, big event, Olympic trials up on the Sunshine State, is it Queensland?
Up in the QLD. Speaking of the Maroons, speaking of the Gold Coast, this one was in Brisbane, and basically was all to play for, all to swim for, because Olympic qualification was on the line. And from it, as they concluded over the weekend, the Australian Olympic Committee has selected 41 strong swimming team to represent Australia in the pool at the Paris Olympics. And the Paralympics as well picked their squad as well. So a lot of people to mention here. I'm not going to go through them. We'll be here for hours. But yeah, over 50 people combining both Olympic and Paralympics. Some of them absolute megastars. Some of them debutantes. Just could not be prouder. And it is such a big thing for us. Like we said last week, swimming is so big for Australia at the Olympics. And our team is going to be sensational. We've got Cam McAvoy and Bronte Campbell becoming the 4th and 5th Australians to swim at 4 Olympic Games. And McAvoy, the first man to do so. So congratulations to Big Cam there. There's, people at their 3rd Olympics, 13 returning for their 2nd, 23 making their debut, 16 are Olympic medalists already, 15 World Championship medalists and gold medalists. It's just, there's stars everywhere, and I think they've done this really well. There was some, like we mentioned off the top, bad hard luck stories with Bowen Golf, but I think we're going to do really well at both the Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games in the pool. I can't wait to see it. So congratulations to all the names we've put on the board. The Dolphins have all got their tickets to Paris. And also, definitely worth mentioning, a couple records up in Brisbane. And who else than probably one of our most famous swimmers at the moment, Ariane Titmus. She got close last week when I mentioned it, and then I got home and had a look, and she has broken the world record in the 200 freestyle with a 1:52.23. Just sensational. The form of Ari at the moment is phenomenal, and hopefully she can take that into Paris and basically hit the wall quicker than all of her rivals. And on the other side, Tim Hodge, men's 200 metre IM, 2:12 world record as well. So 2 world records up in Brisbane, and it gives both of them, but it gives the whole squad a lot of momentum and confidence going into Paris. Hopefully they can go and break some more records, get a lot of medals for us on the board early in Paris. And obviously, a new story is Cody Simpson's going back to singing, and Bowen Goff obviously missed out as well. But congratulations to everyone that was selected, everyone that wasn't. Congratulations for your efforts as well. We're all, as Australians, very proud of all of those guys. Swimming is something I was never any good at all, so I always sing their praises. But obviously, into Paris at the end of July, August for the Olympic Games. Someone else that I reckon we'll see in Paris is my weekly wonder as we go into Aussies around the ground. It is none other than Jess Fox, the GOAT in the canoe, if you ask me. One of my favourite athletes, any sport, any country around the world. She took her 50th gold medal home over the weekend. She's made history. 3rd gold medal of the weekend at the kayak cross event at the ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup in Krakow. The first paddler in history to do so. After winning the canoe and kayak events earlier in the weekend, Fox collected her 50th individual World Cup gold medal. 50. So raising the bat. Amazing. She was just incredible. She always is as well, and she's so exciting to watch. And as an avid follower of hers on social media, she has been training so hard for this, and she's such a proud Aussie, and she's so proud of her craft. And I'll definitely be tuning in to any of her endeavours, any of her events in Paris. I'm sure she'll be there. So she's my weekly wonder. Congratulations to Foxy. Had to get her in. On the other end of the stick, not as great news for our 2 NBA Aussies in the finals. The Mavs got really just outclassed, outplayed for 5 games of the NBA finals against a really well-coached, really well-built Boston Celtics side. But it wasn't really the fault of our boys. Josh Green here in a crucial Game 5 with his side down 3-1 in the best-of-7 series, first to 4 wins. He was superb all through the series, but in this Game 5 in Boston, Josh Green, every time he touched the basketball, if he was shooting, he was knocking him down. It wasn't until his last shot, really, of the game. He didn't get many. I thought he should have got more the way he was shooting it. He didn't miss. He was basically, I think he was 5 or 6 from 3, or maybe 4 or 5 from 3. He hit his first 4. He was brilliant on defense, trying to contain the likes of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Throwing his body everywhere. His shooting percentage was phenomenal. 14 points. He just gave everything he could. And as did Dante Exum, both playing off the bench. I thought they could have been used a little bit more. I know they aren't the best shooters. They're not complete quite yet, but they're still young in the grand scheme of things. They're still relatively inexperienced in terms of always mess this word up, continuality in the league, getting consistent playing time and things like that. But I thought they were unreal, and I'm so proud of both of them. Didn't go their way. The Celtics get their 18th championship. My Lakers will have to catch up to them next year, hopefully. The outright most in NBA history. Congratulations to them. They were phenomenal. No Aussies on that lineup, but well-deserved victory. They are the champions. Back to the world of cricket, just briefly. not a team and not a man who is in the T20 World Cup at the moment, but a man who is swapped over. So he played a fair few tests for Australia, and Joe Burns, with Italian heritage, has swapped over. He's now an Italian cricketer, and he's become, I think, the 6th man in history to make a century for 2 different countries, which is no small feat, and he didn't do it in too long of a time either. 55 balls it took him for his 108 not out for Italy. Hopefully they can make a charge and qualify for World Cup action in the near future. We'll see how they go. But with Burnsy, you never know what's possible. So congratulations to him. Hopefully wish him all the best for his time in the blue of Italy. Hopefully they can become a nice cricketing nation. We've seen the US do it and a number of others. So all the best there. Staying in Europe, the F1, there was no race over the weekend, but there's a triple header coming up, and it begins with Spain this weekend. And then we've got Austria and Silverstone. So it's 3 pretty big races in Europe as the European part of the calendar goes ahead. And hopefully we can see this image once again in Spain this weekend. But, of course, the main thing we want is Daniel Ricciardo to keep scoring points. He got his first last race in Canada. And Oscar Piastri, hopefully he can get back on the podium. Elsewhere, they aren't Aussies, but there was a few Americans. I think Bryson is American. Over the weekend, I just had to include this one because this is remarkable. He won this tournament. I think it was the US Open, if I'm not mistaken. Bryson DeChambeau, on the 18th, he was in the bunker, 55 yards away. And he had a 1.7% chance of getting it where he did, and he got it there. So there's something that tells you why he got that done. On the other end of the stick, I think Rory McIlroy missed 2 putts from inside 3 feet, which he hasn't done in like 164 times. So some big stats there from the golf. In the world of NFL football, Tom Brady, the greatest, has his jersey retired over the weekend or last week in New England, and he will forever be a legend there. And a great quote from him here. He's such a proud man. He obviously brought them 6 championships, 6 Super Bowl wins, which you just don't see happen. Got another one elsewhere, but it didn't matter to them. He got his jumper or jersey, Guernsey, they call it a jersey over there.
It's a jersey. Come on, you shouldn't. I don't
The
know.
number 12 forever retired.
I don't know why you keep going on the Guernsey jersey.
It doesn't really matter what you call it for me. It's a jersey. He got it retired. The number 12 will never be worn by another Patriot ever again, which is pretty rare. It's really common in basketball, pretty rare in football. Such is the man that Tom Brady is.
Denver Broncos had number 18 retired, and when
For Peyton Manning?
when Peyton Manning actually joined them, he sought permission by the person that was retired from, and he gave the permission for Peyton to win it, and it was lucky. So it's more of an American tradition. Like, we don't see it in AFL. I think it's because we've got very limited.
Yeah.
We've got this tradition of under 50, and you can't really retire numbers unless you're going up to 99.
Exactly.
And even then, it's what happens when you get 99 numbers retired. Do you go 111?
Well, we'll see what happens there. I think that'll take a long time, especially in the NFL. But great to see the GOAT recognised like that. And I think there's a statue coming as well at Gillette Field. A lot closer to home, though. We're going to some local footy. And it's not a massive segment this week, but I just wanted to, first off, talk about my weekly wonder or what caught my eye in local footy on the weekend. And I was doing a Coralin and Warragul game on the weekend, which was meant to be close. They were both top 6 teams. They both played finals the last two years in the competition. And Warragul came to this very ground at Coralin to take a semi-final victory away from them a few years ago. It wasn't close at all. The hometown Cobras won by 72 points. It was a mauling after quarter time when it was very, very close. But my weekly wonder in local footy is Nathan Gardner, and it's the bloke, of course, at the top of this marking contest. Not sure if he come down with it, but what a ripper photo it is. And he is well off the ground here on somebody's back. And he has kicked 61 goals, just a lazy 61, in 10 games in 2024. He kicked 105 last year. And whenever anybody kicks 100, it's a big deal. And I think not only will he get there again, but I think his side is a serious chance at winning their first premiership in a number of years, the first in this iteration of the comp. I can't wait to see where they go with it. They took care of Warragul, like I mentioned. and Nathan Gardner had 4 at three-quarter time, so he set up the game. He was one of the only multiple goal kickers to that point. And then in the fourth quarter, he just kicked a lazy 5 goals. The game was over, but it was just incredible watching the ball. He on the lead at full pace, outstretched hands, just unbeatable, and then he doesn't miss usually off the set shot from inside 40 metres anywhere. He was kicking from the boundary line, on the right foot, outside the boundary line. Didn't matter. A 5-goal haul in the last quarter gave him 9 on the weekend. So 61 so far for guards, eyeing off another ton. But I'm eyeing off a huge matchup this weekend. It's Inverloch, Conwack and Narnagoon. It's at the Nest, and it's huge. There is top 6 clashes. Obviously, top 6 I mentioned because the top 6 play finals in this comp. In senior football, reserve football, under 18 football, pretty much all of the netball. So there's 12 divisions combined, football and netball, and I think as good as every single one of them will be a top 6 clash. There's a couple of top 2 clashes as well. So it's just going to be mega. Cannot wait for Saturday morning. I'm going to get down there early and take that in. Also, don't forget, I've given a bit of promo, but Isaac Smith, Shane Mumford, and now, I forget the fella's name, but a former Essendon player, a Bunyip local, a Bunyip junior, is also playing as well. So Bunyip, who are winless this year,
are recruiting well.
They're giving up 170 points a game, but they're going to get 3 former AFL players play for them.
Just win it off the back of those 3,
thanks to the Carlton draft and thanks to their, good junior program back in the day. And I can't wait for that. July 13th, make sure you get down to Bunyip Rec Reserve. That's all from me for local footy woods.
I just saw go off on what Blackburn did. They lost to the undefeated Baldwin, who are looking very strong and only lost by 9. So Blackburn's did a good effort there. Take on the local rivals in Vermont. I can't pronounce it because I always say Vermont. So it should be a good game, the Vermont Eagles. And it's always heated. It's always a good clash there. But as you promoted Isaac's game, I'm not playing for Bunyip. Even though July does line up, it would have been great. But training's going well, and I can't lock in anything yet. I've got my number on its way. I won't give any spoilers on that just yet. It's very close to my heart, and it was a number that was available. So that's all the clues I'll give for this week. But I think, it's less than a month away, and the body's starting to feel it a bit sore, but that's
not used to it.
Training. Oh, it's not.
34 years not playing a game.
Yeah.
Can't be used to it.
I'm not. I pushed myself at training and I just get there. We'll see how we go Thursday night after the training session. Or tonight if you're watching this on Thursday. But July date, hopefully I get selected. So there'll be if I get selected, there'll be a special episode announcing who I'm playing for, I'm playing. But it'll be announced if I play, it'll be announced on the Friday before the game. Game's on the Saturday, so it'll be a little extra special thing to look out for in the coming weeks.
It will be, without a doubt, the biggest extra time podcast event of the whole year. So make sure you stay tuned, watch this episode, make sure you get all the details that you can from it. We're not giving too much away. Watch next episode and all the ones to come. And if that announcement gets on socials, watch that as well, because you're going to want to be there. The bloke has not played an organised game of football in his life. He is 34. It's going to be a massive event. Make sure you're there. And as always, make sure you take in all the sport. Leave a comment and a like and subscribe, and we'll be with you next week. Until then, goodbye.